Hello everyone, Tmmgamer here, and today I have the pleasure of being able to bring you another one of my football talk videos, the series where I sit down and talk about the goings on in real life football. Before I get into that, I'd just like to talk a little bit about the gameplay in the background now. This gameplay was one of my, unfortunately, aborted live comments. As most of you guys know, I've been having absolute nightmares trying to capture FIFA footage. It keeps crashing, the game crashes, my capture software crashes, it minimises, it's just dreadful. I haven't actually been able to record FIFA in about 2.5 weeks, unfortunately, and this game in particular was a crying shame. It was an absolutely fantastic end-to-end game that unfortunately cut off when I just scored an equalising goal about the 55th minute of the second half. I went on to win the game. I think it was 5-4. It was an absolutely brilliant game. The live commentary was fantastic, but unfortunately the footage died. So I'm going to use the first part of the game because it's a really interesting game, and then if I run out of time, I'll just tack on a few more little bits of clips at the end to boost up the time I have to talk about the topics. But this has been a really interesting period in football, and the two topics I'm going to focus on have been in the centre of the news for a while. It's the FIFA publication or non-publication of the FIFA report into the bidding process for the Qatar and Russia World Cups, and it's Ched Evans's, well, it's a bit of a debacle now, isn't it? Came out of prison, and the whole shenanigans going on with him and Sheffield United. And the place I'm going to start first is FIFA, and wow, what an absolute farce this investigation has been. This week, Hans-Johan Eckardt has come out and basically cleared FIFA of everything, said the Qatar and Russia bidding processes were completely squeaky clean, and then literally 4 hours later, Michael Garcia, the person who actually compiled the investigation, and instead of the person who's just basically written up the findings, has come out and said Mr. Eckardt's representation of the facts was erroneous, and that he'd misled and misinterpreted lots of the information, and in fact the report was completely wrong, and he is going to appeal its findings. And I have to say, this is something I completely expected to happen. I 100% expected this to happen. Over the last couple of years, FIFA has shown itself to be one of the most incompetent and corrupt organisations in world sport. They have botched and butchered every single opportunity to even appear slightly credible. This was a fantastic opportunity to hire a completely independent investigator to get to the bottom of all the dodgy dealings that go on in FIFA, to have a completely new slate, to say these are all the things we've discovered, this is what we've done to stop it, and we're going forward from here. But instead of that, what they've done is they've managed to get it to a situation where both sides of FIFA's investigative committee are disagreeing with one another. Which, you couldn't write the script for this, really, could you? It's just absolutely farcical. But, like I've mentioned, this was something I'd always expected to happen, because what FIFA have actually done is that they haven't done an independent investigation. Whenever any legal question comes up, it might be a murder trial, it might be a corporation tax argument, it could be anything. What happens is they get a couple of lawyers in, and then they have a jury of independent people, and the lawyers present the evidence, and then the jury come to a decision, and then a neutral judge, depending on the decision of the jury, makes a decision on what to happen based on the law. What's happened with FIFA is FIFA have hired an investigator and paid him to investigate FIFA, and unsurprisingly, he's cleared FIFA, which, it doesn't take a genius to work out that that perhaps isn't the most, balanced way to investigate a company. Also, not only have they cleared themselves of corruption when paying for their own investigation, we've had the absolutely unbelievable situation this week where a member of the Australian bidding committee, she's called Benita Maciades, now I apologise if I've butchered that name, I probably have, but she was one of the whistleblowers who gave information to Michael Garcia during his investigation about the FIFA bidding processes around the world. And she has been threatened. She's actually gone out to write a book about the bidding process, and she's been threatened and tried to be suppressed by, I assume, people in FIFA or FIFA connections, to keep that report and all of the information in her book suppressed and silent. When you have a situation where there's no independent investigation, where whistleblowers are being threatened, where every opportunity to release independent information has been repeatedly and reliably refused, what conclusion can we draw? From all of the evidence presented in front of us, the only conclusion we can draw is that FIFA are guilty. Because if they weren't guilty, why would they not just publish the report? There is only one reason why people wouldn't publish a report, and that is because they have something to hide. And, you know, that's not being... You know, I don't think I'm going too far beyond the pale here. I don't think I'm reading too much into this. There's no other conclusion to be drawn. If you have nothing to hide, publish the report. If you have something to hide, don't publish the report. It's quite simple, really, from my point of view. And this is leading us to the situation, what do we do next? What is the best way for the international football community to try and salvage some sort of reputation, to try and fix the problems that we have in the game? And to be honest, from my point of view, there's only one option now, and that is for all of the major football confederations to leave FIFA. I really think it's got that serious, because over the last couple of years, FIFA has shown repeatedly that it is completely unable to have any shred of credibility anymore. This was the last chance for FIFA. This was a great chance for FIFA to show that it wasn't all about backhand deals and bongs and underhand dealings and, you know, the little old boys circle of power and influence, which is hard to break down. They have blown themselves out of the water. They have not shot themselves in the foot, they've shot themselves in the face. They have shown just to be completely unwilling and unable to have any rational thought in this organisation. You have somebody running for power, basically unopposed every single year. You have all of these claims of corruption. You have an investigation, which is an investigation basically by one of their friends. It's like, oh, I've been accused of murder. Tell you what, I'm going to go off and I'm going to investigate whether I committed murder. Oh, it turns out that I didn't. That's convenient, isn't it? I'm innocent. That's brilliant. That's basically what FIFA have done. And like I mentioned, it's got to the stage now where FIFA is just completely and utterly untrustworthy. I wouldn't trust FIFA to organise a bake sale, never mind run world football. It really is that atrocious now. It is flat out atrocious. And what I really want to see is I want to see England, Germany, France, Argentina, Brazil, Italy, any nation that wants to get in on the act, basically, anyone at all, to just leave. And the second that happens, FIFA is powerless. Because the bottom line is, who actually holds the power in world football? It's the footballers and it's the leagues. Because they are the people who provide the players, they are the players themselves, they are the actual money makers in this system. FIFA are a bunch of ageing technocrats and bureaucrats who are getting their fingers in the honey pot to try and milk as much money out of the system as possible. You know, FIFA, it's supposed to be a non-profit organisation, don't forget, you know, making millions and millions of pounds for itself and handing out all of these grossly expensive watches as gifts to all of its executive members who turn up to the World Cup. It's as bent as a nine bob. No, and it's got to the stage now where I sincerely hope and pray that every single federation leaves. And the second that happens is the second that Sepp Blatter becomes an unfortunate footnote in history. And I cannot wait for that day. You know, football is getting to the stage now where I am just getting so annoyed by it. You know, I absolutely love football. I love talking about football. I love playing football. I love watching football. I love playing football games. But it's just getting to the stage now where I'm just thinking enough is enough. I cannot condone supporting a sport which is just so broken in every conceivable way anymore. It has to get to a stage now where people say no more. What are we going to put up with? What are we going to put up with? Because if we put up with this, where's the line going to be drawn? When is FIFA going to stop taking the Michael? Basically, it's ridiculous. It's flat out ridiculous. They are threatening whistleblowers. They are... I'm astounded. You know, I'm absolutely astounded. But the thing is, I'm not astounded at FIFA being FIFA, because everybody knows just how completely ridiculously awful FIFA are. What I'm surprised is the rest of the footballing community putting up with it. You know, this is an opportunity now for football to finally sort itself out. But the thing is, it's going to take bravery. And whenever people talk about a new federation, because it's been mooted several times over the past decade or so when certain controversial moments have popped up, but I think the clamour is a lot stronger now for obvious reasons. But the problem with that idea is, unless you have a large series of high-level negotiations between a lot of the federations who all agree to leave at once, it's going to need somebody to take the plunge first. It's going to need somebody incredibly powerful. I mean, ideally Germany. That's the nation I'd ideally like to see go first. Because if you have the defending world champions go, do you know what, screw this, I think that's going to send quite a strong message. And then I think it would start pretty much like a trickle effect. As soon as one goes, another will go, another will go, another will go. And then before you know it, everybody's left FIFA and the world is a much happier place. So that's what I sincerely hope happens now, because it's gone beyond a joke. It really has gone beyond a joke. And then another situation that has gone beyond a joke now is the Ched Evans case. And if you don't know, if you've been living in a shed for the last 3 weeks and you haven't heard this, Ched Evans is a former Sheffield United footballer who a couple of years ago was convicted for raping a woman in a Cardiff hotel room. He was found guilty. There is no debate about that. He was found guilty. And he has said he wants to appeal after he's come out of prison, but the fact is, right now, he is known as a guilty man. What Sheffield United have done this week is that they have allowed him to train with them, and all signs are pointing to the fact that they want him to play for the Sheffield United again. Because you don't bring a player in to train with you just through goodwill alone, do you? It's as simple as that, really. Now, this has understandably caused quite a bit of frustration and anger amongst a whole host of people, and rightly so. Footballers have a very, very privileged position in that they are seen as role models, and whether they are good role models or effective role models, that's a debate for a different time. But I don't think there's any denying the fact that they are seen as role models. And I was watching Sunday Supplement a little bit earlier, and one of the guys on that said, if you were a doctor or a surgeon or an engineer or anything else and you were convicted of a serious crime like that, you would find it very, very difficult to get back into your former position of employment, because a crime like rape is incredibly serious. And if Ched Evans was a convicted murderer, I don't think we'd be having the same debate as we are now. I don't think Sheffield United would even countenance getting him back in. But for some reason, and this is something I've never been able to understand, rape is always seen as a lesser crime, and I don't understand why. We've got a situation now where several of the patrons of Sheffield United have resigned their positions, including Charlie Webster, who's a commentator and a pundit, not a pundit, but a presenter on Sky Sports News and Sky Sports. We've had Jessica Rennis threaten to have her name removed from the Bramall Lane stand because after her fantastic triumph at the 2012 London Olympics, they named a stand in her honour, and she said, if you are hiring Ched Evans, that's so against my moral position that I want my name removed. All of these people have come out in just united opposition to this action. Yet, what Sheffield United have done is they've come out and they've released something which I think is pretty deplorable. They've released a press statement basically saying that Ched Evans has been a victim of mob justice. Now, that is the most ludicrous thing I have ever heard. He has been found guilty by a jury of his peers through the judicial system of rape. There's no debating about that. He has not been round up by the mob and lynched. He has gone through the judicial system and been found guilty. He has then been released from prison. His girlfriend hasn't left him. He hasn't apologised. He's shown no remorse. He's shown no real evidence of wanting to rehabilitate. He's shown no real evidence of wanting to help the community. He has just come out of prison. That's all he's done. And he wants to waltz back into his position before of a very, very well played, well looked after, pampered professional footballer. And quite understandably, a lot of people are pretty sickened by that. So for Sheffield United to then come out and say that that's mob justice, I find that utterly, utterly deplorable. Utterly deplorable. To add insult to injury, Jessica Rennis, one of the most talented sportswomen this country has ever seen, an absolutely fantastic role model who's incredibly well spoken and does a huge amount of brilliant work for charities and in the community, has been given rape threats on social media because she's taken a stand against this. That is utterly sickening. And this was a chance for Sheffield United to come out and say, anyone out there who has given Jessica Rennis threatening tweets, will never be allowed through the door of this stadium again. That would have been the sensible thing to do. But no, they don't do that. They don't say that at all. They give basically no mention to that. They come out and protect Ched Evans. They say, oh, he's been a victim of mob justice. He's the victim in this scenario. Actually, no, he isn't. The victim in this scenario is the poor woman he raped, who has had to change her identity because she's scared for her life. That's the victim in this scenario, but that has been very conveniently glossed over by Sheffield United, hasn't it? Because it's all been turned into a Ched Evans witch hunt. It's all about Ched Evans, la 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 la. No, it's not about Ched Evans. This is about the poor woman he's raped and the message it will send if he can be allowed to waltz back in to his position. There has been a petition signed by, I think, 160,000 people now against Ched Evans re-signing for Sheffield United because of the message it will send. The message it will send to young people out there is basically, you can do whatever you want as long as you can kick a bag of wind around a field. And in the grand scheme of things, that is not a position I think any sensible person will endorse. And the problem with this is that it provides so much ammunition to people to shoot at football. And football is a sport that is so easy to target. Like I've spent the last 10 minutes talking about just how deplorable FIFA is. This is another one of those long lines and long list of activities where footballers are seen as drunk and loutish and laddish and aggressive and thinking they're invincible and better than everybody around them, and that the money's full of greedy, corrupt individuals who backstab the fans and milk the hardworking people who actually support the football club so they can line their own pockets, and that it doesn't actually live in the real world. This, again, is another example for football to show that it isn't what people say it is. But again, people can't grasp this. People can never grasp the bigger picture. You know, the damage I think this will do to football will be pretty irreparable. Because it basically says, like I've mentioned, as long as you can kick a football around, you can get away with anything you want. And that is just it's a disgusting message. It really is a disgusting message to send to the young people of this country and the young people of the world. You know, the longer I actually sit down and look at all of these things from a sensible viewpoint, the more astounded I am at the world. You know, people's idiocy never ceases to amaze me. It really doesn't. It's incredible. It's incredible that in this day and age we are still having to debate whether a convicted rapist deserves to just waltz back into his position of power and authority and responsibility with no punishment and no remorse. What is wrong with the world? What is wrong with the world? It's absolutely staggering for me. It really, really is, and I can't get my head around it. And the fact that somebody as distinguished as Jessica Ennis then gets threatened with rape for standing up for something that she believes in is awful. It's absolutely awful. But unfortunately, this is what football has come to. This is what football is now. Football is a massive, out of control behemoth that puts money and greed ahead of everything else. It doesn't matter what it is. It can be justice, it can be morality, it can be fairness, it can be community. They all get trampled beneath the hobnailed boots of this absolute machine that we call football. And it's a very, very sad and sorry day that we have to sit here and talk like this. It really is. You know, I'm just hoping that something in the next couple of weeks will help me restore my faith in football. That the chairman of Sheffield United will come out and say, do you know what, we've sat down and we've thought about this and it's not a great idea. That, yeah, Ched Evans will score us 25 goals, but at the end of the day there are more important things than kicking a ball into a sack. And that FIFA will come out and say, do you know what, here's the full Michael Garcia report, and here are all the people who've been accused of corruption, and we're giving all of the information to the governments of those countries, and if they are free to prosecute them as they see fit. But I think it's more likely that I will grow wings and fly around the world next week than either of those things happening. Because what I actually think will happen is I think Ched Evans will get signed by Sheffield United, and I think FIFA will continue to bury its head in the sand and stick its butt in the air and hope that all of this will blow over and just put its fingers in its ears and go la 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 until it does. And 3 or 4 years down the line, something like this will happen again, and we'll just run through the same old tired dialogue of how sick we are of it, and how corrupt everything is, and how this is all ridiculous, and naturally no progress will be made, and we'll continue just hammering our head against a brick wall until then. But optimism is always the way. If you're a pessimist, I suppose you're going to have a very, very long and grim existence if you don't hope for the best. But like I say, you can hope for the best, but with these two examples, I'm firmly expecting the worst. But once again, guys, thank you so much for taking your time to listen to the video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. These two topics are incredibly interesting and incredibly controversial for a huge number of reasons. And as always, I'd be delighted to hear what you have to say about them. If you have anything to say at all, you know, I do read all of the comments that I get posted. Whenever I have a notification, I do check every single one. So if you do have something to say, I will have an opportunity to read it at some point. But once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.